The night my father died, the house felt colder than ever before. His absence echoed through every corner, every photograph on the wall, every breath we struggled to take. For years, he had been the anchor of our family, stern, respected, untouchable. But death has a way of exposing cracks in the foundation you thought was unshakable. And in our case, it was the reading of his will that would tear everything apart. We gathered in the old study, its walls lined with leather-bound books, the scent of his cologne still lingering in the air. My mother's hands trembled as she clutched a handkerchief. My brother shifted uneasily in his chair, and my sister avoided my eyes altogether. The lawyer opened the envelope slowly, as though he knew what was inside would shatter us forever. The words spilled out like venom: names, inheritances, omissions. Every sentence he read felt like a blade cutting deeper into the fragile illusion of unity we had maintained. My brother's smirk widened as he realized he had been given far more than his fair share. My mother's face turned pale, her lips parting in disbelief. And me, I sat frozen, my heart thundering with equal parts fear and hope, afraid of what my father might have hidden, yet desperate to believe I still mattered to him. Then something unexpected happened. The lawyer hesitated. He pulled out a second envelope, smaller, older, the edges yellowed with time. His voice cracked as he admitted he hadn't been instructed to open it, yet somehow, my father had insisted it was meant for me, and only me. My breath caught as the room spun with questions. No one dared to voice, why had my father left me a secret letter, separate from his will? And if you were in my place, torn between the fear of uncovering a devastating truth and the desperate hope that it could change everything, would you dare to read? This is not just a story about money. It is my story. The story of a daughter who thought her family was unshakable, until the day I realized that blood does not always mean loyalty. My name is Isabella Hayes, and everything I believed about the people closest to me began to unravel. The night my father's will was read, I want you to understand something. Grief changes people. It makes them cruel, desperate, hungry. I watched my mother's hands tremble as though she was holding on to more than just her sorrow. I saw my brother's eyes flicker with a satisfaction he tried to disguise, and I felt the weight of a silence that told me, deep down, that something darker than loss was about to rise from the ashes of my father's death. But before we step deeper into this storm, let me ask you for something small. If this story grips you, if you feel the tension of betrayal and the sting of secrets, please take a second to like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell. Your support ensures these stories keep finding those who crave truth wrapped in shadows. And I want to know where you are watching from. Are you in New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas, or maybe a quiet small town in the Midwest? Comment below with your city and state. Let's see how far this story can travel across America, because betrayal isn't limited to one place. It's universal. Now lean closer, because what you are about to hear is not just a will, not just an inheritance. It is the first thread of a web that would strangle the very soul of my family. And if you were standing in my place, would you dare to pull that thread? The study smelled of dust and leather, the heavy curtains shutting out the light of a fading afternoon. We sat in silence, each of us, carrying our grief like an unspoken burden. My mother's hands clutched her handkerchief, twisting it over and over, while my brother, Michael, leaned back in his chair with the arrogant calm of someone who already knew he had won. My sister Claire refused to meet my eyes. The lawyer, Mr. Callahan, cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. His voice was steady, but his hands betrayed him, trembling slightly as he unfolded the envelope. I wondered if even he felt the weight of the storm he was about to unleash. My heart pounded as the crackle of the paper filled the silence. "My estate," he began, "shall be divided as follows." The words blurred together in my head. Numbers, properties, assets, all carefully detailed, but none of it mattered until he began naming names. Michael. His name echoed in the room like a verdict. My father had left him the majority of the estate, the house, the land, the business. Claire was given a smaller share, still substantial, and me. My name hadn't yet been spoken. A chill ran down my spine. I glanced at my mother, whose lips parted in disbelief, but she said nothing. Michael's smirk widened, his eyes flickering with triumph. I could feel the ground beneath me giving way, as though the life I thought I knew was about to collapse. Finally, Mr. Callahan's voice softened. "To my daughter, Isabella Hayes." My breath caught. This was it. The part where I would discover if my father believed in me, if he trusted me, if I was worth remembering. A personal letter, sealed and separate from this will. Its contents are for her eyes only. The room fell into stunned silence. A letter, not property, not money, just a letter. Michael laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "Letter, that's all she gets." Father always did. Enjoy his little riddles. My face burned with humiliation, but beneath it, curiosity stirred. Why would my father separate this from everything else? What truth was so delicate, so dangerous, it couldn't be written into the official record? Mr. Callahan slid the smaller envelope across the desk. It was yellowed with age, the handwriting unmistakably my father's. My fingers trembled as I reached for it, the weight of 100 questions pressing down on me. And here's where I must stop for a moment. Because if you were in my place, watching your siblings gloat while all you held was a single letter from the man you thought knew you best, would you open it in front of them or wait until you were alone? The envelope rested in my hands like a living thing, fragile yet unbearably heavy. My mother's eyes lingered on me, filled with sorrow she dared not voice. Michael leaned forward, the smug grin never leaving his face, and Claire tapped her nails against the wooden desk, sharp and deliberate. They were all waiting for me to tear it open, to reveal whatever my father had hidden. But I couldn't. Not there. Not with their eyes, clawing into me like vultures circling a dying animal. I slipped the letter into my purse and forced a smile that felt like glass breaking in my chest. "I'll read it later," I whispered. Michael scoffed. "Of course you will. Maybe. You'll pretend it's something important, so you don't have to face the truth that father trusted me, not you." His words cut deeper than I wanted to admit. For years, I had fought to earn my father's approval, and now all I had left was a letter whose contents were a mystery. The room thickened with silence, only broken by the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. My mother finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Your father. He was not always the man you thought he was." Her words hung in the air like smoke, suffocating, refusing to vanish. "What does that mean?" I demanded, my voice sharper than I intended. But she didn't answer. Instead, she lowered her gaze, as if chained by secrets too dangerous to speak aloud. That night, I locked myself in my old bedroom, the house eerily quiet except for the creak of floorboards settling under memories I no longer trusted. I placed the envelope on my desk, staring at it as though it might open itself. My father's handwriting stared back at me, haunting and intimate. I thought of the years I spent under his shadow, his stern lectures, his rare smiles. The way he called me his quiet one was there. Something in me he never dared to say aloud, or something about our family he feared would destroy me if spoken too soon. With trembling hands, I slid my finger under the seal. The paper tore softly, the sound echoing like thunder in the silence. I unfolded the letter slowly, each crease releasing a ghost of the man I thought I knew. The first line was enough to steal the breath from my lungs. Isabella, there are truths about our family that must never reach Michael or Claire. I am entrusting them only to you. My vision blurred, my heart hammering. What could be so dangerous that he would single me out? And if you discovered a secret meant only for you, one that could shatter your family forever, would you keep it locked inside your heart or dare to reveal it? The ink on the page was faded, but the words cut as sharply as if my father were whispering them into my ear from beyond the grave. There are truths about our family that must never reach Michael or Claire. My hands shook as I traced the letters, every word dripping with both love and warning. Long before you were born, the letter continued. I made choices that would haunt us all. Choices I thought were buried, but the past has a way of clawing its way back into the present. You, Isabella, are the only one I can trust to face what is coming. My stomach churned. Why me? Why not my mother or my siblings? Why was I chosen to carry this burden? I read on each line, darker than the last. My father confessed to a secret affair, one that had produced a child, a half-sibling, someone out there who shared his blood, and yet none of us had ever known. My breath caught in my throat. Was Michael's arrogance rooted in ignorance, or had he always suspected? Did my mother's trembling at the will's reading mean she knew? And if so, how long had she been living with this lie? The letter warned of danger. If they discover the truth without your guidance, it will destroy this family. You must decide what to reveal and when. Otherwise, the consequences will be irreversible. I pressed the paper to my chest, my heart hammering against it as if trying to fuse with the words. My father wasn't only entrusting me with a secret, he was handing me the power to decide the fate of everyone I loved. For a moment, I considered burning the letter. If no one else knew, perhaps the past could stay buried. But deep inside, I felt a pull, a voice that whispered I had to uncover who this hidden sibling was and why my father had kept them in the shadows. The walls of my old bedroom seemed to close in on me. Every family photo now felt like a puzzle, missing a piece. Who was the stranger with our blood in their veins? Where were they now? And most of all, what would they want if they discovered the truth? Downstairs, the house groaned under its own secrets. I could hear Michael's laughter echoing, faintly, the sound sharp and mocking. He had no idea that everything he thought he'd won was now hanging by a thread. And if you found out your father had another child hidden, forgotten, erased from the family's story, would you keep this secret too? Protect your family or search for the truth? No, matter the cost. Sleep abandoned me that night. I lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling while the letter whispered from my desk. A hidden child, a half-sibling, somewhere out there, flesh and blood bound to me by secrets too heavy for daylight. My father had chosen me alone, to decide what to do with that truth. The weight of it pressed into my chest until I could barely breathe. By morning, my resolve hardened. I couldn't live with unanswered questions gnawing at me. I slipped out of the house, avoiding Michael's piercing eyes and Claire's silence. My first stop was my father's office downtown, a place frozen in time, his scent lingering on the leather chair, his handwriting scattered across notes and files. I rifled through drawers, searching for any clue, until I found it. A faded photograph tucked into a worn envelope. A woman with kind eyes stood beside a young boy, no older than 10. On the back, scrawled in my father's unmistakable script, "Ethan, keep safe." My breath faltered. A name, a face, proof. The air in the office thickened, as if the walls themselves knew I had uncovered something forbidden. I clutched the photograph, trembling with both fear and determination. Somewhere out there, Ethan existed, alive, waiting, perhaps, unknowingly, for the day his shadowed existence would be revealed. I barely had time to slip the photo into my purse before the door creaked open. Michael stood there, his eyes narrowing, looking for something, little sister. His voice dripped with suspicion, his gaze darting toward the open drawer. My pulse raced. Just clearing out father's things, I muttered, forcing calm into my voice. Michael lingered, his stare heavy before smirking and walking away. But the way he looked at me, it was as if he already knew I had found something. That evening, I confronted my mother. I showed her the photograph, my voice trembling, her face drained of color, her body folding into the nearest chair. I told him this secret would destroy us, she whispered. I begged him to let it die with him. Anger flared inside me. How long, mother? How long have you known? Tears welled in her eyes. Since before you were born. But promises can become chains. Her words left me hollow, furious, betrayed. She had carried this lie for decades. Claire entered the room suddenly, her eyes darting between us. She caught sight of the photograph in my hands, her face palling. What's going on? She demanded. I froze, torn between truth and silence. The letters warning thundered in my mind. If they discover the truth, without your guidance, it will destroy this family. And if you were in my place, holding a photograph that could shatter every bond in your family, would you confess everything in that moment or protect the lie a little longer? The photograph of Ethan burned in my pocket like a live coal. I could feel its weight with every step, every glance exchanged across the dinner table that night. Michael sat across from me, his smirk sharper than ever. Claire stirred her food without tasting it, and my mother kept her eyes lowered, as if praying the truth would stay buried. But secrets have a way of clawing their way to the surface, no matter how deeply you try to bury them. Michael slammed his glass onto the table, wine spilling like blood across the wood. What are you hiding, Isabella? He demanded. His voice was low, dangerous, like a predator circling its prey. My throat tightened, but I couldn't remain silent. Slowly, I placed the photograph on the table. Claire gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. My mother whispered a prayer, her shoulders shaking. Michael's eyes darkened as he leaned forward, studying the boy's face. Who is he? Claire whispered, her voice trembling. I looked at her, then at Michael, then finally at my mother, who sat frozen. Our father's son, I said, the words heavy, final, like the strike of a gavel. The silence that followed was unbearable. Michael's face twisted in rage. You're lying, but his voice lacked conviction. His fists clenched, his knuckles white. Claire began to cry, her tears falling silently onto her plate. And my mother, she simply closed her eyes, as if surrendering to the collapse she had feared for decades. Michael stood abruptly, the chair crashing to the floor. So father betrayed us, betrayed mother, and you, he pointed a trembling finger at me. You brought this poison into our house. His voice cracked, anger spilling into grief into fury. I didn't create this, I shot back, my voice breaking. Father dead, and you knew, mother, you knew all along and said nothing. My mother's sobs filled the room, the truth shattering her. Carefully constructed silence. For the first time, Michael's mask cracked. He turned away, gripping the edge of the table as though it was the only thing holding him upright. All those years, he whispered. He looked at me as the heir, the strong one, and all the while, he was hiding another son. His rage dissolved into something more dangerous. Despair. Claire reached across the table, her trembling fingers brushing mine. What happens now? She asked, but I had no answer. All I knew was that Our family had been torn apart, not by death, but by truth. A truth that could never be unspoken, never be erased. And if you were me, watching the people you love disintegrate under the weight of a single photograph, a single secret, would you regret uncovering the truth, or believe that some lies should remain buried forever? When I look back now, I wonder if the letter was a gift or a curse. My father entrusted me with the truth, but truth has teeth. It tore through. My family left us bleeding, and no amount of love could stitch us back together. Sometimes I wish I had burned the letter the moment I found it. But then I remember Ethan's face, a boy who had no choice, just as I had none. We live believing that families are built on trust, on loyalty, on blood, but blood can carry betrayal as easily as love. That night, as my brother's rage filled the room and my mother's silence broke into sobs, I understood something I can never forget. Secrets don't stay buried, they wait, they watch. And when they rise, they demand a price no one is ready to pay. And now I ask you, if you uncovered a secret that could destroy everything you knew, would you reveal it or carry it alone? Tell me in the comments where you are watching from, your city and state, and let me know what you would have done. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell so more stories like this can reach others who dare to face the shadows. Until next time, beware of the truths hidden within your own walls.